we are going to take a look at the recent firing of Gwynne Wilcox and General Counsel Jennifer Abruzzo, both Democratic appointees from the National Labor Relations Board, and the implications of this. One, the NLRB has no quorum. And you might say, bro, Wilcox was replaced by William B. Cohen on February 3rd. Well, there's a bit of a catch to that. It's really nothing but a facade, a placeholder, unless the individual is approved by the Senate, which, guess what, hasn't happened. And I expect it won't. And I'll tell you why, and why this is important. The NLRB protects workers' rights, in particular unions, to form and negotiate collective bargaining agreements. Unions are pivotal, providing upward mobility and socioeconomic status, a competent workforce for the employer, good pay, health care, retirement, everything you want to provide for yourself and your family. Another guess what? According to Reuters, this will bring hundreds of cases accusing companies of unlawful labor practices to a standstill. An example of one of the active cases is one against Tesla. And P.S., Musk has filed lawsuits challenging the protections that the NLRB provides in the past. Coincidence? Probably not. If you agree with the following, thank you, but please share with those who don't believe that these changes will affect them. And that is one of my primary messages. I believe there are many who did not sign up for the actions taking place as it goes against their best interest. However, if you don't know, then you don't know. So let's help them know. We will start with a clip from Trump demonstrating his stance along with Elon Musk too, and then both of them together, after which we will get into the details about the NLRB and Wilcox herself reporting on the event. So, let's get going.
They get another 3%, 4%. Then
okay, let me get this restarted here. There we go.
Same thing with the unions.
That's right.
They get their little 5%. They get another 2%. They get another 3%, 4%. Then all of a sudden they're making more money than the people that own the company. Same thing with the unions.
That's right.
They get their little 5%. They get another 2%.
Okay, so that was in the past. And what he's talking about is increases in wages. And those increases in wages come about from collective bargaining agreements that are had and protected by the NLRB between the employer and the workforce. They usually range from 1 to 5 year contracts. They are worked out over a long period of time. And it benefits the workers a great deal. Because one, for example, inflation, right? Things change. Things increase in price. It's inevitable. Now, here is an example from Elon Musk. Let's skip ahead a little bit. It's not relevant. Go about right here.
Out there who think that the top 10 car companies are going to be Tesla, followed by 9 Chinese car companies. I think they might not be wrong. So China is super good at manufacturing, and the work ethic is incredible. So, like if we consider different leagues of competitors.
They also don't have any worker rights. It really does increase production, most likely.
At Tesla, we consider the Chinese league to be the most competitive. And by the way, we do very well in China because our China team is the best China team.
How worried are you that the unionization?
Gosh dang it. I did that again, didn't I? All right. Let's get that switched. There we go. That's what I want. Let me go back and show that clip. It's quick.
They get another 3%, 4%. Then all of a sudden they're making more money than the people that own the company. Same thing with the unions.
That's right.
They get their little 5%. They get another 2%.
Okay, there's that. Now let's get going here.
Like if we consider different leagues of competitiveness, at Tesla, we consider the Chinese league to be the most competitive. And by the way, we do very well in China because our China team is the best China.
How worried are you that the unionization effort that just took place I shouldn't say effort, but the new wages and the like at GM and Ford that they're coming for you? And they are coming for you. What is that going to mean to you and your business?
Well, I think it's generally not good to have an adversarial relationship between people on the line, one group at the company and another group. In fact, I disagree with the idea of unions, but perhaps for a reason that is different than people may expect, which is I just don't like anything which creates kind of a lords and peasants sort of thing. And I think the unions naturally try to create negativity in a company and create a sort of lords and peasants situation. There are many people at Tesla who have gone from working on the line to being in senior management. There is no lords and peasants. Everyone eats at the same table. Everyone parks in the same parking lot.
So note on that. That is often the case in unions as well. Many of our superintendents, they were and still are active union members. They go and pursue different interests, but this idea that it enforces the lords and peasants thing is preposterous. If anything, it levels the field, right? Because the amount of money you make often has something to do with how much power you have. And these collective bargaining agreements, they raise the wages of the workers.
At GM, there's a special elevator only for senior executives. We have no such thing at Tesla. And the thing is that I actually know the people on the line because I worked on the line and I walked the line and I slept in the factory and I worked beside them. So I'm no stranger to them. And there are actually many times where I've said, well, can't we just hold a union vote? But apparently a company is not allowed to hold a union vote. So it has to be somehow called for, but the unions can't do it. So I said, well, let's just hold a vote and see what happens.
We will see what he actually says here in a moment.
The actual problem is the opposite. It's not that people are trapped at Tesla building cars. The challenge is how do we retain great people to do the hard work of building cars when they have like 6 other opportunities that they can do that are easier. That's the actual difficulty, is that building cars is hard work and there are much easier jobs. And I just want to say that I'm incredibly appreciative of those who build cars, and they know it. So there's I don't know, maybe there will be unionized. If I say, like, if Tesla gets unionized, it will be because we deserve it and we failed in some way. But we certainly try hard to ensure the prosperity of everyone. We give everyone stock options. We've made many people who are just working the line, who didn't even know what stocks were, we've made them millionaires.
All right. Now, let's hear from him and the president together about what they think of it. All right.
Between me and my former running mate, I cannot endorse President Trump.
I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name
of the
Between
situation.
me and my former running mate.
I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just.
And it says in captions, for those who can't see this, Musk once threatened to withhold stock options if Tesla workers unionized, right? And above that, Trump praised Musk for firing striking workers. And that's what you can do when you don't have union protection. So it's something to keep in mind that the actual message that is being delivered here is, and the actual story isn't necessarily about like the people being fired, but about their position on unions and the implications of their actions, and because of their feelings, which has been demonstrated here, where this will lead, right? It's about something bigger. It's the message, where this ends. Now, here is a little note where the UAW, it files labor charges against Trump and Musk over the X interview remarks, which is what we just heard.
Charges Tuesday against former President Donald Trump and billionaire Elon Musk over comments made Monday night during a conversation on X, formerly known as Twitter.
One of the things that the NLRB does is it protects workers from intimidation tactics.
You're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone.
Trump's comments was seen by some as him praising what's known as union busting, while Musk never directly responded to Trump's comments during the live conversation. Both men are named in the charges. Trump's campaign calls it a frivolous lawsuit. Sean Fain, the president of the UAW, spoke to my colleague Robert Costa on America Decides earlier today.
Employers need to be held accountable in this country when they break the law. It is a federal right of workers to go on strike, and they cannot be fired for that. But, you know, people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk, they laugh about firing people because they can care less about people and about their jobs and what they do to their careers. All they care about is the billionaire buddies and taking more wealth.
Labor union support will play a key role for the Democratic ticket on the 2024 election. Trump's opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris, is endorsed by the UAW. Her running mate, Tim Walz, traveled to California Tuesday to speak to union workers. CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang joins me now from the White House. Weijia, always great to see you. As you know, Sean O'Brien, the president of the Teamsters Union, appeared at the RNC last month. And we know historically unions have been associated with the Democratic Party. So how much does the union support matter in this election in 2024?
Well, unions.
It was huge. It was huge. Now, moving forward, this is specific to what has been currently going on with Gwynne Wilcox. So we'll take a look at that.
Trump's effort to shrink the federal workforce has been challenged in court, where federal judges are now being asked to decide if what the administration is doing is legal. Among those suing the president, Gwynne Wilcox. She is the former chair of the nation's top labor watchdog. That's the National Labor Relations Board. And she was fired by Trump last week. The White House did not immediately comment on this Wilcox lawsuit. It's the first time, though, a board member has been removed from that agency in its nearly 90-year history. In this exclusive interview, Wilcox tells our Jerika Duncan her case could have major consequences for workers' rights nationwide.
No board member in the history of the agency has ever been terminated or removed from their position. Until me. I'm the first person.
Last Monday, 71-year-old Gwynne Wilcox received an email from the White House informing her she was being removed from her position.
What was your reaction when you got that letter, you say, at 11 o'clock at night, letting you know you had been fired?
I was just stunned.
Wilcox served on the National Labor Relations Board.
She was appointed by Joe Biden, by the way.
First Black woman appointed to the nation's top labor watchdog.
I handled cases where workers were fired and retaliated against for their conduct, but I never imagined that I would be the person being fired for doing my job.
Congress set up the agency back in 1935 to mediate disputes and protect workers' rights.
Let industry and labor walk together.
Among the board's recent findings,
Corporate greed has got to go!
Amazon violated the rights of workers who had voted to unionize by refusing to bargain with them.
It protects workers. If they are looking to unionize or if they're going to complain about working conditions.
Former President Joe Biden first appointed Wilcox in 2021. Her most recent term was supposed to last through 2028. By firing her, Trump left the board without enough members to function, part of a string of removals from independent agencies.
He is the executive of the executive branch, and therefore he has the power to fire anyone within the executive branch that he wishes to.
The letter Wilcox received on behalf of the president said she had not been operating in a manner consistent with the objectives of his administration.
Some might look at what the president did and say, he has the right to do it. You're pro-union, Democrat. You could stymie his agenda.
He does not have the authority to remove me based upon my views.
To get her job back, Wilcox filed this lawsuit on Wednesday, alleging her firing violated a law that only allows the president to remove board members in cases of neglect of duty or malfeasance.
Why fight so hard?
If I don't fight, that means that the president gets to do whatever he wants to do in violation of the law.
So they do a nice little summary here where it's the firing of labor board member is unprecedented. The agency now lacks 3-member quorum to decide cases. And Trump also fired board prosecutor. So the U.S. President Donald Trump has fired 2 Democratic officials at the National Labor Relations Board, a major shakeup that will bring hundreds of cases. Now it says hundreds of cases, but let me show you this. They really undershot that. Let's see, you can see that, right? Yeah. So the amount of cases, recent charges and petitions filing for unfair labor practices, 429,757. Issues of representation, 53,378. Of open, 26,572. There are a ton of cases, and they are piling up, and they are being filed every day. And now, all of that comes to a stop. This is huge. Trump removed NLRB member Gwynne Wilcox and General Counsel Jennifer Abruzzo, both appointees of Democratic former President Joe Biden, from their posts late on Monday, according to an agency spokesman who said no reason was given. And I looked for a account from the White House, a press release, and they have not given any. The firing of Abruzzo, who in her role as general counsel acted as a prosecutor, was expected, but the removal of Wilcox, whose term was not set to end until August 2028, is unprecedented and may violate federal labor law. Wilcox, the first black woman to serve on the agency's 5-member board, said in a statement that she would pursue all legal avenues to challenge her firing. And, as I said, the White House did not respond to requests for comment. The board already has had 2 vacancies, so the removal of Wilcox leaves it without a quorum of 3 members to issue decisions, even in routine cases. The board reviews rulings by in-house judges in cases brought by the general counsel. Until it does, those orders cannot be enforced. Hundreds of cases are pending before the board, more like tens of thousands, including ones involving Amazon.com, Tesla, Walmart, Apple, and dozens against Starbucks as it faces a nationwide union campaign. The NLRB enforces workers' rights to organize, advocate for better working conditions, and join or dissolve unions. Federal labor law does not allow workers to sue for violations in court, so the board is often their only recourse. Once board members are confirmed, federal law allows them to be removed only for neglect of duty or malfeasance in office. About 24 companies, including Amazon and Elon Musk's SpaceX, have filed lawsuits since last year challenging those protections and claiming the president should have the power to fire NLRB members at will. The companies also argue that NLRB's in-house enforcement procedures are unconstitutional. So again, about the message of their actions, how Amazon and Elon Musk feel are demonstrated by their actions by going against the NLRB. Musk, whose companies have been involved in several labor board cases, is a top advisor to Trump and is leading a commission aimed at cutting government spending and eliminating many federal regulations. Together, the firings signal a sharp turn away from the policies and legal theories embraced by the board during the Biden administration that riled business groups and were widely seen as favoring unions. As Abruzzo's office convinced Wilcox and other board members to create a new path for unions to represent workers, to ban mandatory meetings to discourage unionizing, and to expand the type of worker conduct protected by federal labor law. Abruzzo had also been critical of the companies that have filed lawsuits challenging the NLRB's structure, accusing them of pushing meritless legal theories to distract from their violations of workers' rights. On Tuesday, Abruzzo in a statement said the labor board's efforts to empower workers in recent years would have a lasting impact if the agency lost effectiveness, she said. Quote, "I expect that workers with assistance from their advocates will take matters into their own hands." The NLRB, which was created in 1935, is designed to be independent from the White House. Its members' terms are staggered, which means that control of the board typically does not change hands until a year or two after a new president takes office. Even before filing Wilcox, Trump had an opportunity to quickly cement Republican control at the labor board with 2 existing vacancies to fill. Trump has not said who he plans to nominate to the board or to replace Abruzzo as general counsel. Unions and Democrats on Tuesday criticized Trump for firing the officials and bringing the board's work to a halt. I found a nice little article that clearly describes the state of it, if I can find it. It was from the California Labor Relations Board, I believe. Where are you? There it is. Okay. And this is from the California Labor and Employment Law blog. So it's pretty legit. They say, at this point, the appointment is for an interim position. It remains unclear whether President Trump will attempt to have Cohen approved by the Senate for the general counsel position, which would eliminate the interim nature of the appointment, or whether Cohen is just a placeholder until somebody else can be nominated and confirmed. In any case, the NLRB remains 1 member short of a quorum, so unless a new member is appointed and confirmed, or former member Wilcox is able to obtain a court order rescinding Trump's decision to terminate her, the board has little power to do much beyond the decisions it makes at the region level. So, that is where we are at with that. I was very surprised to hear that. And there's not a lot of coverage about it either. Now, where were we? I did find it interesting that Abruzzo had also been critical of the companies. Even though she was appointed by Biden, and that's, usually the stance of Democrats that are appointed, it's good that she also equally represented the employers as well. It does need to be taken into account. It is a relationship. And relationships are like banks. You can only take so much. You have to give as well. That's something that's often forgot, I will say, with the unions. And I am a member of a union. I'm a journeyman local union 290 steam fitter. So, unions and Democrats on Tuesday criticized Trump for firing the officials and bringing the board's work to a halt. Representative Robert Scott, the top Democrat on a U.S. House Labor Committee, said the removal of Wilcox not only violated federal law, but also her due process rights under the U.S. Constitution. Quote, "Without member Wilcox, the board cannot issue decisions to hold union-busting companies accountable, further stymieing justice for workers fighting for better conditions," he said. Some Republicans praised Trump's firing of Abruzzo. Quote, "Under Abruzzo's leadership, the board weaponized its authority against American workers, opening them up to intimidation, coercion, and forced unionization," Republican Senator Bill Cassidy said in a statement. That's interesting. Some Republicans praised Trump's firing. Very interesting. So I feel like that article is also a good source, but also summed that up pretty well. I would also like to give a little bit more information on the other individual that was fired. If I can find that. And this also gives another side as well, because it said, from the Democrats, this has never happened before and all this other kind of stuff. But check this out. So this is by Sullivan and Cromwell, LLP. President Trump's removal of EEOC General Counsel Gilbride and NLRB General Counsel Abruzzo was not unexpected. Former President Biden similarly terminated EEOC General Counsel Sharon Gustafson and NLRB General Counsel Peter Robb in 2021. While the president's authority to remove federal officers such as general counsel has been upheld by the Supreme Court, this is the first time a president has removed a sitting EEOC commissioner and sitting NLRB member. That being said, former President Biden removed Social Security Administration Commissioner Andrew Saul in 2021. A 2021 Department of Justice memorandum that addressed Saul's removal found a statutory protection that similarly provided the commissioner may be removed from office only pursuant to a finding by the president of neglect of duty or malfeasance in office to be unconstitutional. According to news reports, a White House official stated that the NLRB member and EEOC commissioners were removed because they were far-left appointees with radical records of upending long-standing labor law, and they have no place as senior appointees in the Trump administration, which was given a mandate by the American people to undo the radical policies they created. And I find that interesting, that quote saying that they were far-left, as the other article showed that at least Abruzzo was not. So, lastly, I just want to read a little bit more from the website, NLRB.gov. Let me zoom in here just a little bit more. I really want to get the point across that this is extremely important for our rights. If it were not for a union, I would not be able to be doing the things I am now. My father was a union member, and doing two things at once here. And his good pay, along with his hard work, provided a means for upward mobility and socioeconomic status, allowing me the ability to go to college. But one of the primary things it provided me, and honestly the most important, was healthcare. Our insurance is very good, and with my health condition that I have, epilepsy, it is extremely important for me to see doctors that are specialists, and our insurance allows that. It provides a means. So, here's a little introduction to the NLRB from NLRB.gov. The NLRB is an independent federal agency enforcing the National Labor Relations Act, which guarantees the right of most private sector employees to organize to engage in group efforts to improve their wages and working conditions, to determine whether to have unions as their bargaining representative, to engage in collective bargaining, and to refrain from any of these activities. It acts to prevent and remedy unfair labor practices committed by private sector employees and unions. Congress enacted the National Labor Relations Act, the NLRA, in 1935 to protect the rights of employees, to encourage collective bargaining, and to curtail certain private sector labor and management practices, which can harm the general welfare of workers, businesses, and the U.S. economy. Here's a little bit how it works. The board has 5 members and primarily acts as a quasi-judicial body in deciding cases on the basis of formal records. In administrative proceedings, board members are appointed by the president to 5-year terms with Senate consent, the term of one member expiring each year. The Office of the General Counsel. The General Counsel, appointed by the president to a 4-year term, is independent from the board and is responsible for the investigation and prosecution of unfair labor practice cases and for the general supervision of the NLRB field offices in the processing of cases. The Division of Judges. The Division of Judges dockets, hears, settles, and decides unfair labor practice cases throughout the country. Here's an organizational chart of the structure. So you have the board on the left, the general counsel on the right, and this moves down. It is quite a large organization, but a few of the very important organizations, although they all are things, for example, as Office of Equal Employment Opportunity, something important and something that's being cut back on. Office of the Executive Secretary, Office of Representation Appeals, Division of Enforcement Litigation, Ethics Office, Office of Congressional and Public Affairs. Those are a few, but they are very, very important. And if dissolved, it will be a scary result. It will provide an avenue to take advantage of those with less power in our society. Stock options are great, but healthcare is a little bit better, in my opinion. Especially if the Affordable Care Act goes away. So that is primarily what I wanted to cover tonight. Not as exciting, but very, very important to our society and to our culture. One thing I do want to add, if this stuff goes away, one thing that comes up is what's called a right to work law, or RTW. And this can have many negative consequences, and it really demonstrates the value to unions, because you can show with math and statistics that one brings about better results than the other. So with RTW, there are significant consequences to not only the workers, but communities and the economy. And this is one that's often passed by, the economy. So the amount of money that you make in a right to work situation is significantly less. So for example, in my union, you're going to be making 45 plus take-home wages, and that's base, not including about $30 of fringe benefits with the option to put money per hour into a 401k. And this includes healthcare, vision, dental, everything that you need, a pension, so that's your retirement, is better than stock options. But those are the things that you get. And because you are getting more, you're going to get taxed more. But those increased taxes that are taken go to the state, right, and the feds, but allows more social support systems and policies to be implemented into the public because there's more money going in. If you reduce the amount of funds that are going in, you can't support those policies that help the less affluent, So, as noted, the lower wages. You also get the reduced benefits. This is a big one. Higher workplace fatalities. Right-to-work states have higher rates of workplace fatalities. And that is because safety will go out the window. This is a common thing and a big one, right? It's no longer about the worker, it's about the job. Focus on the completion, not necessarily how it's done. It's just black and white. There are more discrimination claims. Without union protections, employees in RTW states are more likely to file discrimination claims. Again, for communities, because of the lower wages, you're going to have higher poverty rates. You're going to have reduced health care coverage rates. It weakens unions because right-to-work laws weaken unions' bargaining powers and financial strength. Some other consequences: right-to-work laws undermine the relationship between employees and employers and make it harder for workers to form and sustain unions. Right-to-work laws infringe on the fundamental human right to unionize and collectively bargain. So, that's my little statement on that as well. But again, what I would like everybody to take away from this is I do truly believe that there are a lot of people who, quote unquote, signed up for this, but didn't know what they were signing up for. And if they were informed, rather than with the minutia of what is the news right now and the noise, their beliefs would change. Because things like this, it's just stated someone got fired, right? But the implications of it are not explained. The fact that it will affect you, your family, and your well-being is not demonstrated. But it does. It absolutely does. My life would be much different if I did not have the rights provided by a union. So, there is a direct cause and effect relationship that exists here on the public. And because of how the media is, the way that it is right now, the public discourse is not reflecting what it should be. We shouldn't just be reporting on these events. We should be reporting on how these things affect us individually. And that's what's being lost. And that's the message that I would like to be sent to everyone and to those who may disagree, most importantly. Because as things continue to progress forward, we are going to need the support of everyone that we can in order to make a change. So, that is what I got for tonight. Thank you for joining. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great night.